Selwyn Opera.
Now, with his comments and call of the 1990 Melbourne Cup, here is the Greater 3UZ Good Sports Chief Race Caller, Bryan Martin.
Now the runners are heading to the starting gates for the running of the 1990 Melbourne Cup. Our men are in the mounting yard. Let's go to Terry McAuliffe and Rob Tester to get the very latest as the horses arrive at the barrier now.
Thank you, Brian. Well, Rob, conditions were quite mild, actually, when the horses were in the mounting yard. There was a bit of a breeze blowing, and most of the horses behaved well.
Yeah, all the horses conducted themselves very well here. Probably the only one that there was a bit of a worry as far as sweating up was Just the Dancer.
Yeah, and Frontier Boy did have some plate problems in the yard, Rob.
Yeah, pulled a near side off for plate and did start to sweat up a little bit underneath before Damien Oliver got on, but the farrier did take a while to work on him, and he was okay as he headed out.
Yeah, as we mentioned, though, Rob, the majority of the horses behaved well, and that was despite the crowd did their very best to unstir them, or to stir them up.
Yeah, there was a few of them there trying to throw bottles of alcohol and stuff over the fence, but they were quickly taken in a hand. I thought Citizen looked terrific going out. I didn't think he'd lightened off at all.
No, he looked very well, didn't he?
Yeah, he looked well, and so did our Magic Man at long odds. He looked terrific.
Okay, so that's the story down here, Brian. Good luck with the call.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Rob. Let's go to Keith now for the very latest from the betting ring.
Yes, Brian, as the runners start to move into the stalls for the 1990 Foster's Melbourne Cup, the favourite is the Phantom, the New Zealand stayer, who finished an unlucky fourth in this race last year. The Phantom missed the Caulfield Cup through the rain-affected track and an inglorious run before that race, but he's back on target. His fourth in the Cox Plate at Moonee Valley recently was the run that put him back into calculations. Citizen, the top weight, trying to be the first horse since Gurner's Lane in 1982 to win the Caulfield Melbourne Cups double, is unwanted today on this hard track. He is better when the rain has had some effect on the track. Number 2, Savage Toss, racing to be the first South American winner of this Melbourne Cup. Savage Toss won the Werribee Cup, his first Australian win. Today he is getting out towards Bolter's odds of 3-1. Number 3, Terrific, one of 3 runners for the strong Lee Freedman stable. Terrific won the Cup last year. Lee Freedman cornelled it with Superimpose. Today he also is represented by 2 other runners. Frontier Boy is one of the more fancied ones, along with Savage Toss. Flying Luston from New Zealand has had backing. Tote odds at the moment just under 14-1. Flying Luskin ran an eye-catching second in the Moonee Valley Cup. Waterboatman, he's an imported galloper, Irish bred. His owner, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, has arranged a radio link-up to 3UZ here in Melbourne to listen to Waterboatman run in this Melbourne Cup. He won the Adelaide Cup at this distance earlier this year, and he was runner-up in the Caulfield Cup. Number 6, Equidity, one of the bolters in the race, but given some chance, he continues to firm on the totalisator here in Victoria from odds of 50-1 to 30-1. The Phantom is the ruling favourite at a generous price because this is the most open of cups, perhaps the most open for 45 years when the joint favourite started at 7-1. Number 8, Kingston Rule, bred in the United States of America by the Great Secretariat out of Rose of Kingston, one of the greatest mares to grace the Australian turf. She was runner-up in the Dalgety Stakes here on Derby Day last Saturday after winning the Moonee Valley Cup. She's trained by Bart Cummings, and Bart Cummings, the record-holding trainer of the Melbourne Cup. He's shooting for his 8th win. Mr. Brooker, the New Zealander, 3rd in the McKinnon Stakes. He was not suited at weight for age. He drops from 58.5 kilos to 53 today, and he is very strongly fancied. Mr. Brooker on the Victorian tote, showing odds of 17-1. Number 10, Shazora, a powerful New Zealand mare. She was 3rd in the Caulfield Cup when the going suited her, a slow track. She was 7th in the Cox Plate at conditions that didn't suit her, but she ran on better than anything in the field. She too is one of the fancies. She's at odds of 10-1. Rainbow Myth, to be ridden by Victoria's premier jockey, Michael Clark. He's the New Zealand dark horse in the race. We haven't seen him here in Melbourne. He comes from New Zealand with fair form. 12, Frontier Boy, the more favoured of the Freedman trio. Damien Oliver riding in the race. Just a Dancer, Jim Cassidy's mount. Shalaya, one of the top chances. She's a mare being ridden by last year's Winner Shane Dye. Donegal Mist had an injury scare. Narboto, Batuta, Del Raffin are roughies. Ali Boy has admirers, and the rest are fairly rough, including the outside of the field, number 23, Rising Fear.
Okay, thank you, Keith. And the runners moving into line for the Melbourne Cup for 1990 as the starting gates are being filled down here. Now on the inside gate has been occupied now. Coming into line is Ali Boy. And they're moving up quite well. Del Raffin are grey with Mount Olympus as they get set. Down to the judge, of course. The circuit of the track here at Flemington. Track just under 2,400 metres in circumference. And the line is taking good shape. Shazora, the mare, seemed to handle the walk. The canter down to the barrier without any problem. Batuta, a rank outsider, as is Rising Fear, about a 500 to 1 chance. And the tote just on $11 million on the win place in Victoria, but much bigger holdings in New South Wales. Now Citizen to come up to gate number 23. Just about ready here for the Melbourne Cup. Last couple coming into line. Be an almighty roar when they jump away, and then the crowd will settle down a little as they get set for the 1990 Melbourne Cup. Last couple coming into line, and they're ready to run. The Melbourne Cup is about to begin, and the field is set, and the light is flashing, and they're off and racing now. They're off in the Melbourne Cup, and Kingston Rule down on the inside, and Ali Boy flying. Luskin the Phantom away quickly with La Tristia. Further out, Narboto going forward. Savage Toss moving up towards the front, and from the outside, Donegal Mist going into a prominent position there, followed further out by Our Magic Man. And Selwyn's Mate is the furthest out when they settle down and come down the straight. Let's have a look for the top weight Citizen. It's one off the fence already and back running fifth last when they come down towards the 400-metre mark on the first lap, and the leader Savage Toss nearly a length in front. Our Magic Man went up second, over on the fence. La Tristia third. Donegal Mist has gone up fourth, followed by Naboto the Rail on the outside. Selwyn's Mate caught out deep, and they're followed by Mr. Brooker. Coming down towards the post from Kingston Rule, the rail from Flying Luskin. They're followed by Ali Boy on the inside. Then came Rising Fear further back in the field. Equidity. The Phantom is just beyond midfield on the rail. At the winning post from Mount Olympus, followed by Shazora the middle. Water Bateman over on the inside. Then came Del Raffin, caught out three deep, a half length further back in the field. Rainbow Myth. Further back was Citizen, who has 5 horses behind him. They are Batuta, Frontier Boy, Terrific, Shalaya second last, and last of all is Just a Dancer with 2,000 metres to go in the Melbourne Cup, and the imported Argentinian galloper in front at Savage Toss by a length. Our Magic Man second, third on the fence. La Tristia a half into Selwyn's Mate going up fourth, and they're followed by Donegal Mist out 3 deep. A neck further back in the field, then came Naboto. They're followed by Mr. Brooker over on the inside, Kingston Rule. Rising Fear out 3 deep. In the middle then is Flying Luskin, a length and a half to Ali Boy. Outside of Equidity, 2 further back, Mount Olympus. Over on the inside, the favourite, the Phantom, a length and a half. Shazora followed on the inside by Water Bateman. Then came further back Del Raffin, followed by Rainbow Myth, then Citizen, Frontier Boy, further back Batuta. 2 then to Terrific, second last Shalaya, and last of all is Just a Dancer. At the 1,300-metre mark into the back straight in the Melbourne Cup, and the leader is Savage Toss. Savage Toss about 3/4 in front of Our Magic Man. La Tristia running third over on the inside. They're followed further back by Selwyn's Mate running fourth, and then on the outside of them is Rising Fear. He's up running fifth, a half length further back. Naboto, a length and a half further back is Donegal Mist under a bit of pressure, losing ground, followed by Mr. Brooker. Kingston Rule the rail. 2 lengths further back, Ali Boy, Flying Luskin. They're followed further back by Equidity. The Phantom's got a big job from there from Mount Olympus, followed by Shazora, Water Bateman. Well back with Citizen. In behind the field then Rainbow Myth, followed by Del Raffin, then Shalaya under the whip with Frontier Boy pulled out deep. Terrific second last with Batuta, and Just a Dancer last of all. They're coming to the turn with 600 metres to go in the Melbourne Cup, and the leader is Savage Toss, about a length and a half in front of the lightweight Our Magic Man on the outside. They're both under a little bit of pressure, a length and a half to La Tristia. Narboto way back on the rail from Mr. Brooker. Pulled out as Flying Luskin, then the Phantom. Kingston Rule getting up on the rail. Further back, Equidity, Mount Olympus. Citizen a mile back from them as they run down now with about 300 to go. Our Magic Man put its head in front. Kingston Rule gets out. Kingston Rule grabs the run in the middle, and the Phantom going for a run at the 150. Kingston Rule took the lead from the Phantom getting up on the inside. It's Kingston Rule, the Phantom followed by Mr. Brooker. Kingston Rule in front. Kingston Rule wins the Melbourne Cup. Kingston Rule a length, the Phantom ahead away third. Mr. Brooker, fourth home is Narbotto. They're followed by Mount Olympus, and then came Equidity. Behind the field, Savage Toss, La Tristia, Flying Luskin. Then Our Magic Man, Citizen, followed by Ali Boy, Shalea, Terrific. Further back in the field, Del Raffin, followed by Just a Dancer. Rainbow Myth, then Frontier Boy. Well back as Water Boatman with the tail enders. They are rising. Fear with Batuta. Pulling up quickly in the race, Shazura near the tail in company with Selwyn's mate. And Donegal missed his last of the Melbourne Cup.
Bryan, a fantastic race, a record 8 Melbourne Cup wins for Bart Cummings, for trainer David Hayes, the Melbourne Cup that was denied to him by Gurners Lane when Kingston Town was beaten in 1982, and for Darren Beedman a first. And Bryan, congratulations on a fantastic call. It told the real story of this Melbourne Cup.
The Melbourne Cup has been won in record time in 3:16.3 by number 8. Number 8, Kingston Rule, ridden by Darren Beedman. Number 8, Kingston Rule. D. Beedman has won the 1990 Foster's Melbourne Cup. Has beaten number 7, the Phantom, with the rider just having to check and change course over on the inside when he was getting up inside Kingston Rule. I don't think it's made any change to the outcome of the race. And number 9, Mr. Brooker. Number 9 has run third. Number 16 is fourth, and that is Narbotto. But Kingston Rule by Secretariat from Rose of Kingston, ridden by Darren Beedman, has given David and Helen Haynes a win in the 1990 Melbourne Cup, having only its 15th start today. Bred in the Northern Hemisphere, prepared by the master, Bart Cummings, who now has a Melbourne Cup record. And Kingston Rule had a beautiful run on the rail, ridden in magnificent fashion by Beedman. Kingston Rule has won the 1990 Melbourne Cup. Second placing to the Phantom. He tried valiantly, and maybe the lack of a run has just beaten him over the last 100 metres. Number 9, Mr. Brooker, has run third. Number 16 is fourth, and that's Narbotto. And number 21, Mount Olympus, has run fifth in the Melbourne Cup. A new track record, a new metric record. The record was 3:17.1 set by Terrific last year, but it is 3:16.3. 3:16.3 is a new metric record for the 1990 Melbourne Cup. Kingston Rule ran second in the Dalgety Handicap on Saturday on Derby Day. And it's an ecstatic Darren Beedman from New South Wales, a boy who rode for some time in France, taking the Melbourne Cup this afternoon at Flemington before a huge crowd. Beedman absolutely ecstatic as he doffs his cap and the whip to the crowd. Kingston Rule, you could never miss him in the run with the very prominent white woolen shadow roll. And it's an elated Darren Beedman that brings this horse back to scale at Flemington. Kingston Rule, Darren Beedman, 24 years of age, having his third ride in the race. He ran 18th on Palace Revolt last year. He was the youngest jockey to win the Golden Slipper when he won on Inspired in '84. He rode successfully in France, and Darren brings home and leads home the parade for the 1990 Melbourne Cup. Let's go to the mounting yard. Bart Cummings has trained yet another Melbourne Cup winner.
Bryan, David Haynes, the winning owner. David, how does this compare to Kingston Town's 3 Cox Plate wins?
Oh, look, right now, of course, it's the greatest thing that could happen, but I wouldn't want to take anything away from those 3 Cox Plate wins. They were magic, but this is just absolute magic.
David, Kingston Town beaten in the Melbourne Cup by Gurners Lane. This certainly makes up for it.
Oh, sure, but, you know, you forget the past.
Okay, David Hayden's going to get the winning horse. Bryan, he's a very delighted man, as you would expect.
Yes, well, they were robbed of the Melbourne Cup with Kingston Town when he was beaten by Gurners Lane, as you mentioned. Terry and David and Helen Haynes have put a lot into thoroughbred racing over many, many years. And Kathy Haynes, their daughter, joining mum and dad to lead the Melbourne Cup winner back to scale. The 1990 Melbourne Cup winner, $1.3 million going to David and Helen Haynes of Connections. Bart Cummings, another Melbourne Cup win. And what an amazing training performance by Bart. The horse lightly raced coming into the Melbourne Cup after a terrific run on the Dalgety last Saturday when he ran second behind Mount Olympus. There were many disappointments in the race. The Phantom just failed. I thought he'd win about 150 metres from the line. When he got a needle eye opening through, I thought he would win from there, the Phantom, but his run just tapered out. And third placing going to number 9, and that's Mr. Brooker, loomed up and ran a terrific race. Number 16 is fourth, and that's Narbotto. But horses like Citizen, terrific, they got back. Shazora, she only had 2 or 3 behind her for most of the trip. They couldn't improve from there. They just didn't go on. And it was just a great staying performance by this horse to go home and win the Melbourne Cup this afternoon. And the winner of the Melbourne Cup is Kingston Rule, and the numbers are 8, 7 and 9. 8, 7 and 9. As I look across to the winning post enclosure, there's a magnificent sight. Our 3UZ team across there have put up a banner. Bryan told us you've done good. Beautiful, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, let's have a look at the dividends. $5.75 for Kingston Rule as the jockey Darren Beedman jumps on the scales. $5.75 and $2.15. Number 7 second, the Phantom, $1.45. And number 9, Mr. Brooker, has paid $3.05. A quinella of $22.50. The double 5 and 8 paid $130.40. The extra double 9 and 8, $65.50, $65.50 for the extra double at Flemington today. And the all-important trifecta will be up in just a moment. We'll have the trifecta after the running of the Melbourne Cup for 1990. A new track record. And Kingston Rule dropping 3 kilos. He won the Moonee Valley Cup. He ran second in the Dalgety. And today, Beedman took total advantage of the inside gate number 1. He never went around a horse until about the 300-metre mark. He allowed the horse to get the trip. He put the horse to sleep in on the fence. He allowed the horse to come away from the rail, to go up in his own time with plenty of time to get to the front over Our Magic Man and Savage Toss. And yet they seemed to dawdle down the straight the first time, but he got to the front, Kingston Rule, and that's when young Beedman went for home. Let's go back to the mounting yard now. The jockeys have weighed out, and correct weight. Weight is right. Correct weight 8, 7 and 9. Officially fourth, number 16. Weight is right on the Melbourne Cup. Back to the mounting yard now.
Judgment when it's necessary in a tight decision. So
talking with Bart Cummings now.
He's the tides with him and put him on. And I think he's going to be the leading rider in Sydney. The way things are going up there with the team that Jack's got, Crown Lodge. So why not?
Do you think this horse would be a couple of...
Well, if I can get the weight, I thought about 4 weeks ago, if I can get the weight off him. When I first came here, he was very gross and overweight, and he just sort of peaked at the right time. Righto, good. So, Moonee Valley Cup was a deciding factor. I thought he was about 20 kilos overweight there, and he's trimmed down pretty good, and he won.
But doubts about him running the 2 miles?
Oh, we've just been through that. No, not really.
Thank you.
Okay, there he is, Bart Cummings, creating a record in training the Melbourne Cup winner, Kingston Rule. Just waiting on the trifecta on the Cup. We'll have it shortly. 8, 7 and 9, 8, 7 and 9. And, well, the crowd, they certainly have got their money's worth here today with Kingston Rule outstaying the Phantom and Mr. Brooker to take the 1990 Melbourne Cup. The winning margin was a length, with a neck between second and third, and a new metric record of 3:16.3, a length by a neck, 3:16.3. Flying Luskin in a prominent position, but just couldn't keep up the pace, and that pace was so hectic over the last half of the race. It was only for the stout-hearted, and the stout-hearted today was Kingston Rule and certainly Darren Beedman. 8, 7 and 9, and we have correct weight. We return to studios, and the placings are now official on the 1990 Melbourne Cup.